Hey everybody, this is Jordan Hillhouse with the Mississippi Public Health Institute, and today we're going to talk about Datagadget, what it is, how to enter data, and why it's important to have current data in Datagadget. So let's start off with asking this basic question, what is Datagadget? Well, it's an online collection tool for your data. It's where you would enter your prevention data. We'll see a little later that that's divided into two subcategories. And it's also required by the Mississippi Department of Mental Health for reporting. Now, to correctly use Datagadget, you need three things: a Datagadget account, your data, and an internet connection. So the first question you're probably asking is, how do I get an account? Well, the best way to get your account for Datagadget is to contact me, Jordan Hillhouse, at the Mississippi Public Health Institute. You see my phone number and email address below. That would probably be the best way to get your account. At any time that you need to give me a call or send me an email, I'll be glad to help you. When should you enter your data? There's some confusion on this, but it should be entered every month, and new data is due by the 10th of every month. And I have this little word of advice here: don't let data pile up. It's so easy to procrastinate and just say, I'll get all the data at once. I'm going to dedicate an entire day to entering data, but my personal advice would be do not do that. Don't let your data pile up. Devoting a whole day or a whole week is not the best way, in my opinion, to enter your data. And it puts extra stress on you. If you just know that it's due by the 10th of every month, I've entered it every 2 weeks in the past, and I know prevention people that have entered it every week. It's just whatever works for you. But the key is it needs to be current data. So you might be asking, why do we need to enter our data? Besides it being required from the Department of Mental Health, it lets the Department of Mental Health know where you are providing prevention services, where you are providing those services, and what type of interventions you are using. It shows that there's a need in your community, and that's key, because if we're not entering data, it's looking like our community doesn't need those services. And just hypothetically, I'll go on and say it, if we're not showing the need for it, we might not continue to get funded for it. So it's so important for our federal funding that we continue to enter our current data. Now, you've heard me mention intervention before. Let's go on and talk about what an intervention is. Interventions are the strategies that you use to spread your prevention message. Prevention interventions are classified on Datagadget in two ways: as a one-time event or as an ongoing event. And we'll discuss the differences between those two in a second. An ongoing event, these are interventions that take place with a particular group more than once. Examples would include classroom evidence-based programs, spread over multiple days or weeks. Classroom lecture series. Maybe you're speaking to the same class, but it's not an evidence-based program, but say you go at the first of every month and you talk to the students, that would be a classroom lecture series. Also, a media campaign. These are ongoing events. These are addressing a particular group more than one time. A one-time event is an intervention that occurs in one setting on one day or time. Examples include health and educational fairs, guest presentations like a school-wide assembly, Red Ribbon Week presentations, or a SAD meeting. So hopefully we feel a little more clear on the differences between a one-time event and an ongoing event. So now let's talk about the 6 prevention strategies. You may know these as the CSAP strategies, but you'll also see them on Datagadget, and they are information dissemination, education, alternatives, identification and referral, community-based process, and environmental. So let's go into these a little deeper. Information dissemination is a strategy that provides information about the nature and extent of drug use, abuse, addiction, and the effects on individuals, families, and communities. It also provides information of available prevention programs and services. The dissemination of information is characterized by a one-way communication from the source to the audience with limited contact between the two. Think if you're at a health fair and you only have a few seconds with someone that comes to your booth and you hand them a brochure, that would be information dissemination. These numbers 1 through 9 are listed on SmartTrack, and if you enter your event as information dissemination, you would have to choose between one of these 9 resources. Moving on to education, this strategy involves two-way communication and is distinguished from merely disseminating information by the fact that it's based on an interaction between the educator and the participants. Activities under this strategy aim to affect critical life and social skills, including decision-making, refusal skills, and critical analysis. An example of this would be media messages. And if you look on this side, you will see the options that Datagadget will give you if you select your intervention as education. Alternatives. This strategy provides for the participation of target populations in activities that exclude drug use. The assumption is that because constructive and healthy activities offset the attraction to drugs or otherwise meet the needs usually filled by drugs, then the population would avoid using drugs. This slide demonstrates the choices that you would see for alternatives on Datagadget. So you have drug-free dances and parties, community drop-in centers, community services, activities, and you could also put other in. Now let's talk about identification and referral. This strategy aims to identify those who have indulged in the illegal use of drugs in order to assess if their behavior can be reversed through education. It should be noted, however, that this strategy does not include any activity designed to determine if an individual is in need of treatment. This slide shows the options that you would see on Datagadget for identification and referral. Employee Assistance Program, Student Assistance Program, and other. Moving on to community-based process, this strategy aims to enhance the ability of the community to more effectively provide prevention and treatment services for substance use disorder. Activities in this strategy include organizing, planning, enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness of service implementation, building coalitions, and networking. This slide shows the options that you would see under community-based process in Datagadget. And our final strategy that we're going to talk about is environmental. This strategy seeks to establish or change community standards, codes, and attitudes, thereby influencing the incidence and prevalence of drug use in the general population. These are the options that you would see under environmental strategies under Datagadget. You can see 55 as SINAR. Prevention professionals are required to do 25 SINAR merchant education visits every grant year, and you can enter those into Datagadget. So now we've talked about what Datagadget is, why it's important. We talked about the 6 prevention strategies and went into a little detail on that. Now let's talk about the process of entering data into Datagadget. And it is a 6-step process. Now I know this looks a little intimidating, but we're going to go through this and you'll see that it's not that difficult. The first step that you would see would be the date and program information, followed by the participant information, then the strategy type, then documentation of activities, your summary info, and then your report will be ready to be printed. So this is the date and program information part. You can see the program based, you would have two options, either individual based or population based. Individual is more geared for a specific person or more indicated group, whereas your population based would be your more universal type programs. So right here we have our begin and end date. We have our intervention type, and that will be one of three: universal, selected, or indicated. Your program type is usually going to be approved, state approved or NREP. NREP, it would normally be state approved. Now, you do need to put in your program name and your group name. And our statewide initiatives targeted section at the bottom needs to be clicked on. For instance, if you were doing a SINAR check, you would click merchant education. But if you're talking about all of these, you would click all of them. Then once you get finished with this section, you would click the next button. That takes us to our participation information. So on this page, you'll see the number, age, race, ethnicity of your attendees. You would fill that information out. If you don't know for a fact, make an estimate, an educated estimate. For instance, if you're serving a high school student, you would know that that would either be in the 12 to 14, 15 to 17 range. Probably not a lot of 21 to 24-year-olds in high school. Some of these are kind of tricky, I'll be honest, when you're estimating, especially when you have a large number of people coming to you. If you're at a health fair, that can get a little tough, so you just want to estimate as best as you can. Once you're finished with this section, you would click next. So this is our strategy page. You would select which strategy it is out of our 6 prevention strategies. When you click on that box, you'll see another option to click other boxes. Click the box that corresponds with your intervention. Then you would click next again. Your documentation of activities, you would check all that apply. Do you have an agenda, evaluations, pre and post test? If so, if you have a brochure, be sure and click all of those. Sign-in sheets are very important for some workshops. Some coalition meetings, you need a sign-in sheet. So check all that apply. And this section in the middle is extremely important. The hours. How many employees worked on this project or on this intervention with you? The travel hours, the direct service hours. Direct service is how much time were you actually in the class or with the in the community providing the intervention. And then the prep hours. How much time did you spend preparing for this? You'd click next again. Then it's going to show you your summary. Be sure and scroll through this to make sure everything lines up with what you have with your data. And then you will click finish. Make sure everything's correct before you click finish. You could also click previous if something is incorrect, and you could deal with that issue then. So if everything's correct, you'll click finish, and then you will see a print screen, and you can print your report. After that, your report is there. You can't make any changes to it. That's why it's so vital that you read the summary info page. So in conclusion, Datagadget is a fun and easy to use prevention data collection tool. Data must be entered monthly. Please be sure to get it in by the 10th of every month. Entering data is a multi-step process that includes program, participant, and strategy inputs. Once the data is entered, it can't be altered, so please, once again, make sure that your data is correct. So thank you for taking time to watch this video. I hope you learned a lot from it. Now we are going to enter some data. So you can watch me enter my data, and if you have any questions, please get in touch with me. Thank you. Okay, so here we are on the main Datagadget page, and I'm going to enter a one-time event. This was for a training on opioids that I did earlier today. So I want to show you guys how to enter this data. So this is the first section. The begin date would be November the 14th. End date, it's just a one-time event, so the end date's the same as the beginning date. It's a universal direct. Program types approved, state approved, program name. I'm going to call this opioid training Oxford. Group name, I'm going to have that the same. Service location, community-based organization, since this was held at Communicare in Oxford. Coalition meeting, this was not a coalition meeting, but if it was, you would click the box and then you would select if it was a statewide or local, but it wasn't a coalition meeting. This was, when we look at our state targeted, state initiatives targeted, this was opioids, so I would just click prescription drug abuse and then click next. All right, number of participants. There were 9 participants. They were all female. The age, I have this data, and sometimes you might have to guess on this data, but I do have this data. And I'm going to put it in. Okay, race. You can put that in. Ethnicity. And then you look at the high risk, and unless if I don't have this information, so I'm going to leave it all at 0. Then we'll click next. One-time event. What type of event was it? Okay, with this one, it'll be a speaking engagement. Click next. Documentation. I have an agenda, an evaluation form, sign-in sheets as well. Number of employees, it was just me. Travel hours. This was the majority of the training, actually. It was Oxford, so it was about a 5-hour travel. Direct service hours, 4 for the training. Prep hours, this was a training that I've already done before, but I did prepare a little, so I'll put about an hour worth of prep time. Overall comments, I'm just going to put that the Oxford training went well. Okay, so after you put in your comments, you're going to click next. And this is your summary info. This is important because it tells you your information has not been saved yet. You may press the previous button if you want to go back. But once you click the finish button, it is finished. So we can look through here and make sure that everything is correct. It looks good. Okay, so we will click finish and our report will pop up. It says our information has been saved, and there's our report. So hopefully you found this useful. I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. If you need to get in touch with me at any time, please do. Thank you so much. Goodbye.